history of Argentina in the 20th century is deeply intertwined with the story of Juan Domingo Peron, a towering figure whose political career reflected the hopes, contradictions, and struggles of a nation grappling with modernity, inequality, and identity. His rise to power, the implementation of his policies, and his eventual fall have left a lasting impact on Argentine society and politics. The early years, setting the stage. Born on October 8, 1895, in Lobos, Argentina, Juan Peron grew up in a modest family. His early career as a military officer was unremarkable, but his assignments exposed him to the workings of power and governance. During a diplomatic mission to Europe in the 1930s, Peron observed the rise of fascist regimes in Italy and Germany. These experiences shaped his understanding of state power, labor relations, and mass mobilization. Argentina in the early 20th century was a nation of contrasts. Its agricultural exports, particularly beef and grain, fueled economic prosperity, yet wealth was concentrated in the hands of a small elite. Urbanization and industrialization created a burgeoning working class, but social inequality and labor unrest were pervasive. The political landscape was dominated by the conservative oligarchy, which resisted reforms that threatened their dominance. The rise of Peron, a new political era. Peron's political ascent began during the military coup of 1943, which overthrew the corrupt government of Ramon Castillo. As a junior officer, Peron maneuvered his way into positions of influence, eventually becoming the Secretary of Labor and Social Welfare. This role proved pivotal as it allowed him to cultivate support among the working class, whom he championed through policies such as wage increases, social security reforms, and improved working conditions. Peron's charismatic personality and strategic alliances helped him connect with labor unions, a key constituency in Argentina's rapidly industrializing economy. His relationship with Eva Duarte, a rising actress and radio personality, further boosted his popularity. Eva, later known as Evita, became a vital political partner, using her own charisma and background to rally support among the marginalized. In 1945, Peron's growing power alarmed the military establishment and conservative elites. He was briefly arrested, but massive demonstrations organized by labor unions demanded his release. The iconic October 17, 1945 rally at Plaza de Mayo marked a turning point, cementing Peron's alliance with the working class and solidifying his status as a national leader. The First Presidency, 1946 to 1955, the Peronist Revolution. In 1946, Juan Peron won the presidency with broad support from workers, rural peasants, and the urban middle class. His political philosophy, later termed Peronism or Justicialismo, blended nationalism, social justice, and corporatism. Peron sought to create a third way between capitalism and communism, emphasizing state intervention in the economy and redistribution of wealth. During his first presidency, Peron implemented sweeping reforms aimed at empowering workers and reducing social inequality. 1. Economic policies. Peron nationalized key industries, including railways, utilities, and the central bank, aiming to reduce foreign control over the economy. His government also promoted industrialization through import substitution, encouraging domestic production to reduce reliance on imports. 2. Labor reforms. Labor unions flourished under Peron's administration, gaining unprecedented influence. The state mandated higher wages, job security, and improved working conditions, while also instituting pension plans and healthcare programs. 3. Social programs. With Eva Peron as a driving force, the government expanded social welfare programs. The Eva Peron Foundation built schools, hospitals, and housing for the poor, fostering a sense of loyalty among the working class. 4. Cultural and national identity. Peron emphasized Argentine nationalism, celebrating its cultural heritage and promoting a strong, independent nation. His government also curtailed foreign cultural influences, particularly from the United States and Britain. Despite these achievements, Peron's presidency was marked by increasing authoritarianism. He suppressed political dissent, censored the press, and used propaganda to consolidate his power. The judiciary and legislature became subservient to the executive branch, and opposition parties faced significant obstacles. Challenges and decline. By the early 1950s, cracks in Peron's populist regime began to emerge. Several factors contributed to his decline. 1. Economic troubles. Argentina's economy, initially buoyed by post-World War II prosperity, faced difficulties as global demand for agricultural exports declined. Inflation soared, and Perón's industrialization policies struggled to maintain momentum. 2. Conflict with the Church. Perón's relationship with the Catholic Church, initially supportive, deteriorated over issues such as divorce laws and state control of education. This alienated a key segment of Argentine society. 3. Political opposition. The conservative elite, the military, and segments of the middle class grew disillusioned with Perón's authoritarianism and perceived favoritism toward labor unions. Opposition movements gained traction despite government crackdowns. 4. Evita's death. The death of Eva Perón in 1952 was a devastating blow to Perón's political base. Evita had been a unifying figure for the working class and a symbol of hope for the marginalized. Her absence weakened Perón's connection with his supporters. 5. Militarization of politics. Increasingly reliant on the military to maintain order, Perón alienated factions within the armed forces. His heavy-handed tactics and polarizing policies deepened divisions within society. In 1955, growing unrest culminated in a military coup known as the Revolución Libertadora. Perón was forced to resign, went into exile, first in Paraguay, and later in Spain. His departure marked the end of a tumultuous era, but did not extinguish his influence. The exile years and return. During his years in exile, 1955 to 1973, Perón remained a potent symbol of populism and social justice for many Argentines. From Madrid, he maintained contact with loyalists, orchestrating strategies to sustain the Peronist movement. Despite attempts by successive governments to suppress Peronism, it endured as a powerful political force, with labor unions and grassroots organizations keeping his legacy alive. In 1973, amid escalating political and social instability, the Argentine military government allowed Perón to return. His homecoming was met with a mix of hope and violence, symbolized by the Ezeiza massacre, where clashes between rival Peronist factions marred his arrival. Despite the turmoil, Perón was re-elected president in September 1973. The final presidency and legacy, Perón's third presidency, 1973 to 1974, was short-lived and marked by challenges he could no longer overcome. The country was deeply divided, with radical leftist groups and right-wing factions vying for control within the Peronist movement. Economic difficulties persisted and political violence escalated. In July 1974, Perón died in office, leaving his third wife, Isabel Perón, as his successor. Her presidency was marred by incompetence and chaos, culminating in another military coup in 1976. This marked the beginning of Argentina's infamous Dirty War, a period of state terrorism and repression. Juan Perón's rise and fall reflect the complexities of Argentine society in the mid-20th century. His vision of social justice and national independence inspired millions, while his authoritarian tendencies and economic mismanagement alienated others. Perón's legacy endures in modern Argentina, where Peronism remains a dominant political force, albeit in various forms and interpretations. The story of Juan Perón is one of ambition, charisma, and contradiction. He embodied the aspirations of the working class while wielding power in ways that often undermine democratic principles. His life and career remain a cautionary tale about the challenges of populist leadership and the enduring struggle for social justice in a deeply divided society.